Back in Washington, D.C., Colonel Jaime Martinez, commander of the Old Guard, invited me to talk to his battalion at nearby Arlington Cemetery. We went to Plot 60, where soldiers killed after 9/11 are buried.
He's a great soldier. This is, the gravesite of Captain Khan.
Now, Craig, you see the cross and you see the Star of David. Star and crescent to symbolize Islam. And from the name, you can see that this is an Arab soldier who died for his country, America, and is buried here, honored here in Arlington Cemetery, like the other name, Humayun Khan, probably from South Asia. So this certainly illustrates that Muslims have been not only soldiers but distinguished soldiers. Both of these have been given the honors of the Purple Heart, the Bronze Star, distinctions given by the military for their service to their country.
Alhamdulillah. Brothers, I want us to place this issue in some context. Muslims in the military serving honorably, how many?
Currently, there's about 11,000 Muslims in the military.
Now, you know, it's interesting because DOD says 3,752 serving right now, right? But you raising the other question. In the post 9/11 context, how do you know it?
What happens is many times, because of the 911, many people going in say, well, maybe I won't tell them I'm Muslim. It's not a requirement. I don't have to declare my faith. And so they come in and they do their time.
But the numbers seem to be all over the place because
Yes.
I'm getting 20,000.
I saw 20,000.
I've seen 20,000, and you're saying what, 3,000?
DOD's number,
DOD.
3,752.
And you're saying 11,000.
11,000, but I'm saying those who have registered. Now, again, we talk about those who we don't know.
Right,
so it's easy to get to 20,000.
Right, but see, you're already bringing up the issue, which is there is some sense, is it okay to be Muslim in the military?
Well, let me just say this. I had the distinct privilege of actually being on the initial panel when we got our first Muslim chaplain, Chaplain Mohammed. And we traveled from base to base to base to base to see what kind
Abdul Rahman, right?
Yeah. Abdul Rashid.
Abdul Rashid.
And we traveled at least to about 8 military installations and both Army, Marine, and Naval to see what would be expected, what would be the challenges of the Muslim chaplain. And the response was to a man and a woman, because we had a commanding officer who was also
Excellent.
a lady. And it was that indeed the most important thing is to be a good soldier. That's the most important, that's what's going to be required, that he's a good soldier, that person who's going to be a chaplain, who receives those captain bars, will not be receiving them because of any special peripheral treatment, that they can pass the physical test that's required, they can provide the leadership that needs to be required, and they could be a chaplain to all men and women in the military. And that was the basic requirement. And I think that with the exception, of course, there are always bad eggs in the military. I mean, this is not the first time we've had things that happen bad in the military. So there are bad eggs in the military like in any place. But overall, the service of Muslims in the military going all the way back in history has been that of distinction and loyalty.
Now, you were talking a minute ago while we were on the break about the history of Muslims in the military.
Exactly. As Imam Mahdi Bray said, the history of Muslims goes back to the Revolutionary War. We have a brother here in Washington, D.C., World War II, D-Day, veteran, still living, 87 years old, one of the members of Muslim American Veterans Association. The organization itself has Muslims throughout the country who have served honorably.
Yes, sir.
Myself, 20-year veteran,
20 years
United
veteran.
States Navy.
All right.
Honorable discharge, did my time, I'm the third of 4 generations of
Military family.
Yes, sir. So it's almost unquestionable to ask the question when the records speak for themselves.
No, but you're saying in this post 9/11 reality that some people don't want to come forward and say that they're Muslim.
Well, but that's not just in the military. There are people, I mean, we got people who working at jobs. We got people,
Exactly.
on Capitol Hill. We have Muslim staffers, and then we got some who are on the DL. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. So
Brother on the
I mean,
DL.
that's a unique character to the military. I'm not gonna call any names, but there is a certain public official who just discovered she was Muslim recently because the position was needed to go to a Muslim country. But before then, she wasn't identifying herself as a Muslim. So it's out there.
We have to understand that the military is just a microcosm of
Yes, sir.
the United States. So what you have within the military, just people who've come from the, public sector, and now they're in the military. But it's the same mindset, the same people.
I'm gonna give you one. If we were to take a look at this idea, Muslims in the military, whether you're out Muslim or not, but remember that the military desegregated in the issue around blacks before the rest of the society.
This is true.
So that within the military, and Colin Powell raised this. I don't know if you remember this. When Colin Powell associated that photograph of a Muslim in the military, buried in Arlington, and said that if a person is willing to die for their country, then they can be president of their country. And I think that's a profound statement.
Absolutely.
But where do we go now? There are a lot of questions about Muslims in the military around this shooting.
Well, I would like to think that we'll move back to some sense of normalcy, but let's be realistic. There are going to always be haters, individuals who are predisposed to bigotry that will like to exploit these type of situations. I mean, there are groups out here who have anti-Muslim sentiment, what we call them Islamophobes, who basically have already established, no matter what you do, if you're in the Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts, that for some reason there's something nefarious about Muslim children being in the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts. So if you can go to that extreme, you can see the type of extremists we're talking about. Fortunately, they're in the minority. But I think that we have to continue to do what we do best, and that is to reach out to our neighbors, give our service in our neighborhoods, to our country. We have to continue to do that. I think
And there's no disconnect.
there's
no disconnect between Muslim and being in the military.
The ball is in our court. We cannot be an insular community. We have to reach out there and be involved in all the things from the military to non-military life, to religious life, to secular life. We have to be engaged. And I think that's the key word here. Muslims engaged in the American society.
That sounds like a Freedom Foundation commercial.
Well, what can I say?
Muslims have to be engaged.
Absolutely.
But I'm really excited about this discussion. What is your organization doing?
The Muslim American Veterans Association are actually preparing and have prepared to aggressively change the misperception of Muslims in the military.
I know you do a veterans. I attended your Veterans Day event on the mall.
We normally do a myriad of things. Actually, we do.
Okay, I know that. I know about that one.
We do the Veterans Day every year. We've done that annually, and we've picked different locations. It might be Vietnam one year, it might be World War II another year. But we also mentor, getting back to the Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, mentor young people. We assist in veterans, especially, who are coming home. You hear this word PTSD. That's real serious. And there's a reason why they don't bring everybody home at one time, because they can hardly control, and I'm talking about the VA now, Veterans Administration, they can hardly provide the services that are needed for these young people.
Yes.
And you have to remember, as we were talking earlier, my mindset is a lot different from a 20-year-old's mindset. Everything is me, now, instant gratification. And when they're coming back, they need help, they're not waiting, they're not patient. So if we don't address some of these issues, and this is what Marv is doing, trying to get them assistance, trying to get them help, so that we can deal with more from a grassroots perspective. Because the government is not real, and the government being a federal system, the VA is not really equipped to deal with the numbers that's going to be coming back, nor the mindset that's going to be coming back.
Mateen brings up a very interesting point, because the fact of the matter is that we're looking at 8 years and beyond in terms of being in a combat situation, in a war situation.
And multiple rotations.
In multiple rotations. This is longer than the Vietnam theater of war. So you're talking about people who basically have been sent over and over and over again. That's got to take its toll on anybody. I don't care what religion they may be. I don't whether they have no religion, whether they're male or female. If you are constantly placed in that situation where your adrenaline has to stay at a high level, you know, and you have to see all kinds of the atrocities of war, as Sherman once said, war is hell. If you're faced with that situation, there's got to be some type of psychological effect, and it's important that, you know, that organizations like Mateen's organizations are out there to assist people when they come back, because they need help.